Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our weekly webinar brought to you by the Emergency Leadership Team. I'm joined, as always, by my colleagues from the Executive Policy Group, Mrs. Teresa Powell, Chief of Staff, Office of the President, Chief Mario Holland, LUPD, Dean Joshua Snavely, School of Business. Today's webinar will begin, as we always do, with our COVID-19 status update. We'll continue our discussion of the move-in protocols. I'll share the process for requesting remote instruction. We'll introduce our student technology program, and as always, we'll end by reflecting on resilience. At this time, I'd ask Chief Holland to provide our COVID-19 status update. Chief.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson, and good afternoon, everyone. As of noon today, the total cases for the state of Oklahoma for COVID has a weekly increase of 4.3%. The total number of active cases had an increase of 10.1%. And the number of deaths in the state of Oklahoma, unfortunately, is at a 7.6% weekly increase. For Logan County, the total number of cases is at 3.8% of a increase. The total number of active cases in the county rose at 17%.
Chief,
and the number of
Chief Holland, I just wanted to note those are decreases. So,
oh, I'm sorry, decrease. Yes, sorry. Thank you, Dean. The decreases. And as far as the deaths, the number are 23. And for the university, total is at 95. And the number of active cases is at 5. And now I will pass that back to Mrs. Powell.
Thank you, Chief Holland, and good afternoon. We wanted to provide an update on the ongoing move-in protocols that we have enacted. We still have some students who are continuing to arrive. As we announced in last week's webinar, we are setting a deadline for that of the add drop date, which is this Wednesday, February 3rd. And we have asked for all students to submit their required pre-arrival test by today, actually, is that deadline. So we'd like to have that via email to luelt@langston.edu. Send your pre-arrival results of a negative test to us tonight if you haven't already done so, if you plan to move in today, and that will be sufficient for your move-in this week. I want to also just commend our students for the pre-arrival test as well as the arrival test, which we're going to move to in this next slide. Our students have done a tremendous job of adhering to these requirements. We have been running our COVID-19 testing in the multi, and they have really taken to the process. We have some regulars, our student athletes, who are just veterans at it now, as are we in the EPG. We test about every other day. So it's become a very smooth and familiar process to us. I also just want to take a moment to announce that our students have really impressed us with just how well they have adhered to these requirements. And we have, out of our 1,000 students or so that are in housing, we had less than 100 that we haven't seen for their arrival test. And some of them have circumstances that we're working on arrangements to make sure that they can get those arrival tests completed, or excuse me, the post-arrival test. We've done the arrival test. We're now on the post-arrival test. Yes, so the post-arrival test. So many of our students have done exactly what we asked them to do. They've come to the multi, they've done their post-arrival test, and it's gone very, very well. So I just want to thank our students for that. We are still offering these today, Monday, tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week. We are offering testing from 2:30 to 5:30 in the multi, as it is reflected on the slide. So you don't necessarily need an appointment if you are a faculty and staff member and you'd like to do that. We are asking our students to make an appointment through our colleagues in housing. That Calendly link that we shared, that is still a valid link. And housing, I believe, is going to share that once again with our students who have yet to take that post-arrival test. Again, it's very few. It's only about 75 students or so, some of whom have communicated with us and have made arrangements. So they've done an excellent, excellent job in ensuring that they're meeting those requirements. So we really appreciate their work in doing that. And we have seen nothing but great cooperation in that. Our students are doing very well and just want to see those protocols continue. So thank you, everyone who has been a part in that. And now I will segue to Chief Holland, who will share more with us on faculty and staff testing for this week. Chief.
Thank you, Mrs. Powell. So for the COVID-19 testing for this week, we encourage you to utilize the complimentary testing service through Total Wellness to help us mitigate COVID-19. Appointments aren't necessary this week, but for the details, in order for utilizing the testing services, here for the main campus is Monday to Wednesday from 2:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. in the multi. For the Oklahoma City campus is on Thursdays from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. in the library. And on the Tulsa campus is on Fridays from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. in the conference room. So once again, no appointments are necessary this week, but we do encourage you to show up and get tested if you deem necessary. Now I will pass it to Dr. Jackson.
Thanks, Chief. As I discussed and outlined last week, we have a process in place for students to request remote instruction. So in order to officially make this request, students can access the link that's located in the global news feed of D2L. They can also get the links from their respective dean's offices or the Office of Academic Affairs. Once a student completes this form, they will receive a response with follow-up steps. And that email just outlines the necessary documentation that must be submitted in order to complete the request. The request is not complete until the requested documentation has been submitted to LU Academic Affairs at langston.edu. Tomorrow, Tuesday the 2nd, is the last day to complete the form, with Wednesday being the last day to submit the supporting documentation for the request. The reasons for these requests are specifically if the student has underlying health conditions that makes him or her susceptible to contracting COVID-19, or if the student is caring for someone. So we request that kind of medical documentation or any other specific documentation to individual circumstances. Again, the deadline for submitting the request is tomorrow through the link, and the deadline for submitting the supporting documentation is Wednesday. Approvals will be emailed to students as well as their instructors by the end of Friday. So we're working through these requests, and as soon as decisions are made, we'll notify students of their approval as well as the instructors for those classes. So I'll ask Dean Snavely if he will talk through our student technology program.
Happy to, Dr. Jackson, and thank you. I'm really excited to provide an update on this piece today. It's been something we've been working on for several weeks, if not a couple of months. And first wanted to sort of thank our ITS team led by Mr. Pritchard Moncrief, our Chief Information Officer, as well as Vice President Matra Jones. Between the Office of Advancement and ITS, And the emergency leadership team, we've been working with our partner Dell over the last several weeks and months to work on a student technology program to better help our students adapt to the changing nature of education and to how to survive a pandemic and some of our new circumstances around our classroom experience. And so we're launching today a new technology program for all Langston students, partnering with Dell. All Langston University students, if they are currently enrolled, can now secure a laptop for academic use during a semester in which they are enrolled. So for anyone enrolled as of Wednesday, the add drop date, we will be able to provide that student, if they choose and select and go through the process we're about to detail, they'll be able to secure a laptop for use for school. There's two different types of laptops. We'll talk about those in just a minute. But again, one of the key pieces of this program is students have to be enrolled as of the add drop date. So the program will launch this Thursday after that date has concluded. Next up, you see a little graphical representation, a picture of the new laptops. You see two different types. So the one in the on the upper laptop is the Dell Latitude 3310, and the lower pick is the Dell Latitude 3310 2-in-1. These are the two choices that our students will have. They're all brand new computers, all still in the boxes currently, as we're starting to get them ready for deployment. In addition to the computers, every student who selects into the rental technology program will also be supplied a Dell Pro Backpack that comes with that computer. Again, eligibility is you must be able to demonstrate that you're enrolled at Langston. All campuses are eligible, and including our Ardmore site. And you can be anywhere. So if you're taking your classes hybrid or flex, we will make accommodations to get those laptops to students who are not currently living on the Langston campus. So no restrictions. Every student enrolled at Langston will have access to this technology. It is a rental program because of the funding that was utilized through the federal government to secure this in partnership with Dell. We are required to make it a rental program to preserve that for students in the years to come. So there are no charges or fees associated with the program, but a student, if they don't return it or continue to stay enrolled at Langston, could incur a penalty. We're not going to worry about that right this second because we know every student will return it on time. There'll be more details as students sign up around that penalty should it have to take place, but every student will be able to secure that laptop free of charge. As we get close to the end of the semester, a student would have 30 days from the last day of the semester to provide proof that they were enrolled in the following semester, and then they would be able to keep the laptop for use in the next academic term. Otherwise, then the student would make arrangements to return that to the campus, and we'll provide more details about that later. So what do you do if you're a student and you want to take advantage of this? We have some really simple steps for all students to take advantage of the program. So step one, we will be sending later in the week an email that will contain a form where you would request to participate in the program and the type that you prefer, type of computer. A student would then receive a confirmation that that had been submitted and approved, provided that they were enrolled. Upon receiving that confirmation, you'll also receive with that sort of the agreement that identifies all of the obligations around return, contact information. If you're not on campus, that'll be where we work through where we would ship the laptop. And then step 4, you would receive an appointment time for pickup. Or again, if you're not close to the campus, and within a certain mile radius, we would ship the laptop to you. So you would receive confirmation about your shipping information. And then last is either come to Gandy Hall to receive it or wait on it through those mail arrangements. So again, pretty easy steps. You're going to do the request form, and then after receiving confirmation, then you'll get the agreement where you identify the things that you're willing to do within that program. But I can't stress enough, it's a program with no charges to students. That was really important to us as we began this process. I think that is all on that, on the technology piece. So I will turn it back over to Dr. Jackson, who's going to talk about, I believe, some important dates coming up.
Thank you. Just want to walk through some dates that we've shared previously. Today, February 1st, is the first day of our in-person classes. Rotations of small groups should be in our classrooms. I've had a chance to walk around a little bit today, and I've seen students who appear happy to be back with some in-person experience. Tomorrow, as I mentioned previously, is the deadline for students to complete the form that serves as our request for remote instruction. Wednesday is the deadline to submit the supporting documentation that goes along with those requests. And Wednesday is also the end of the add drop period for semester-long courses for our 16-week session. By Friday, notifications will be emailed to students about their approval for remote instruction, and instructors will be copied on those messages. Our midterm examination period remains the same, March 11th through March 17th. And then our university will close for our mid-semester break Thursday, March 18th and Friday, March 19th. So with that, we will pause and answer any questions that we receive in the chat or in the Q&A. So I see one question. Can the information on the student technology program be posted onto D2L as well as a news item once the program is open? Some students don't check their email regularly. So that's a question. We're going to do all that we can to get the information out to students. It does no good to have the devices if we can't get them into the students' hands. And so we'll use our normal channels of communication, email, D2L, social media as necessary to promote this among our students. But I also ask our faculty and staff, if you know of a student who has expressed a need or a need that you've observed, please direct them to this program. We want to make sure that our students are equipped to be successful. So thank you for that question. Another question about COVID testing. Will the testing be available for faculty and staff throughout the semester?
I can take that, Doc. Yes, it will. We're still trying to find the right cadence and frequency of how often that will be. We plan to do that weekly, but we're still working through that with our partner. As you can imagine, there's a significant amount of logistics that go into getting the right people and all the right supplies, and so we haven't set firm dates that will happen every single week yet. We're still working through that, but the dates and times that Chief Holland outlined, those are just for this week. We'll be working through what the next few weeks look like. So yes, plan to have more testing. I'll go ahead and take the question around one of the laptop questions as well. Good question in the chat about, can a student borrow a laptop if they already have a computer? Absolutely. We know that, sometimes we have students, many of us may have been in this boat when we, in a prior life, right, is, I'm using mom's old laptop or dad's tablet, or mine is from, X date and it takes 30 minutes to boot up. And part of the goal of the program is to level the playing field for all of our students so that they have consistent technology, that they have a webcam, that it's fast enough for academic purposes. And then they're freed up to, if they want to use other technology in their life, in their personal life. But we view these as those sort of everyday academic device that they can have all the right links and information. But certainly there's no bar just based on the other technology you have. Every student can have access to this program.
Okay, we have another question. Will instructors get the COVID-19 vaccination from the State Department?
So that's managed entirely by the state. We do not have an influence or impact on who gets the vaccine. So we encourage everyone to sign up through the state health department. We are working on a potential partnership with some health services partners to offer that at some point if it is provided in that kind of way. But right now, instructors, faculty, staff, administrators should fill out the request on the state health department if they so choose, but it won't be required. And at this point, the university is not sponsoring or playing an intermediary in that role.
Thank you. Another question. Will students who commute and attend classes in person be asked to get tested at some point, or do they have access to testing? Mrs. Paul, would you like to take that one?
Sure, thanks, Dr. Jackson. The answer is yes, all of the students are eligible for the testing that we're making available to students. It's not just for students in housing. That's been our focus right now with the move-in protocols, of course, but we do have students that do not live in housing that have been coming to us to get tested, and that's perfectly fine. We will continue to send out those Calendly links. Calendly is just an appointment tool that we use to collect appointments and keep those organized so that we don't have an influx of students or faculty and staff all at the same time. So it just helps us kind of manage the pace of the testing, but certainly all students have access to that, can sign up for it. We have been sending that out in emails. Again, it's been really focused on the move-in protocols just to get us through that portion of the semester. Now that we're there, we will be shifting and sending out just some more general communications on how to use that Calendly tool to sign up for an appointment. Great question.
Thank you. We have a question about where to find the application for remote instruction. Again, the easiest place to access that is when you log on to D2L. All classes have the visible new global news feed, and the form is linked there. You can also reach out to LU Academic Affairs at langston.edu or the Dean's Office to get a copy of the link. Again, I want to reiterate that the link is to a form that just signals that you are interested in remote instruction. Completing that form does not guarantee approval. There is a requirement to submit supporting documentation for that request, and that needs to be sent to LU Academic Affairs by Wednesday. Okay. I don't see any other questions. So thank you for those questions. And if you have others, please feel free to email luelt@langston.edu. So we've reached the point of our weekly webinar that is my personal favorite, and that is reflecting on resilience. For this week's reflection, I'll turn it over to Dean Joshua Busby, who will share that with us this week. Dean?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Can you all hear me? We're good? Can you hear me? Okay, great. And so have the honor to speak on our reflection on resilience this week. And we're so happy to highlight once again our Department of Athletics and their safe return to play. We've had our women's basketball, men's basketball, men and women's track and field, and cheerleaders back on campus since December 27th. And there were a series of protocols that Director of Athletics Rogers worked with the emergency leadership team on, and the executive policy group with the approval of President Smith in order to allow those students and student athletes to return to campus early. And we're so happy to see that the hard work has paid off. Our student athletes are competing, and they're competing at a very high level. And so what we have on the slides is just we want to share some images with you. This is our men's basketball team. As you can see, our men's basketball team has competed, I believe, in 6 games so far, maybe 7. They're all running together for me, but competed in at least 6 or 7 games and have competed at a very high level. Head coach Stitt has the men playing very competitively, and we're very proud of the effort that they have played with, and also they're doing it in a very safe way. Right now we're operating with a fanless experience. Only, as you can see in that far right image, is our cheerleaders that are in the stands. But other than that, it's just essential personnel that is there to make sure that the game operations goes well. Our kind of what you see, if any of you follow sports on TV, the bench areas, seats and chairs are spaced out. And maintaining, social distancing, as well as the players that are not in the game are wearing masks, as well as the coaching staff, as you can see. On the next slide, we have our women's basketball team. Once again, as you can see, same thing there. Our ladies are competing at a very high level as well, and we do believe that they'll be competing for a conference crown this year. And so shout out to Coach Powell and the work that her and her staff are doing as well. As you can see in that first picture behind Grace, that was the opposing team's coach from last week from Central Christian out of Kansas, wearing a face shield as well. But as you can see also in that bottom picture center, that our coaches, as they're coaching, are wearing the appropriate PPE as well. Next, we have our track team. As you can see there to the left is head coach Jimmy Hilliard and assistant coach Julius Colger. And once again, I believe that our track and field teams have competed in at least 2 meets thus far, and have already produced some great success. India Rhodes, who was a freshman from Texas, set a record in the very first meet in the 60-meter hurdles with a time of 9.28 seconds. And that happened just 2 weeks ago. Again, you think about running in 60 meters in 9.28 seconds. I can't even get out of bed in 9.28 seconds. But we have a student athlete that is racing and has set that record early on in the season. She is currently ranked number 25 in the NIA top 30 in that category for 60-meter hurdles. Also, one of our men, Stephen Rogers, who was a freshman and a McCabe student, is ranked number 20 in the NAIA in the men's triple jump. And so then lastly, one of our graduating seniors, Madison Salisbury, is ranked number 16 in the NAIA top 30 in the women's triple jump. So again, this is just kudos to A.D. Rogers, our coaches, for competing and preparing at a very high level. And we are just so happy to report that our student athletes are doing what they need to do as well, relative to doing it in a safe manner. And so we're so proud of them. And so on behalf of the emergency leadership team, thank you, AD Rogers, to your staff, to our student athletes for operating at a very high level, but also doing it in a safe way. Dr. Jackson? Oh, I'm sorry. Woohoo! Let me apologize. Last but not least is our cheerleaders, our cheer squad. The ladies are supporting our teams. Again, very jovial and so happy for the work that they're doing. You're seeing them up in the upper level there in the gym. And so the ladies are spaced out. You can see they're cheering with their mask on, and we're very happy and proud of them as well. And you can ask, and just because we're providing a fanless experience right now, every single one of the games can be watched at langstонsports.com, or you can follow the Langston Sports Facebook page. All of our basketball games are screened and streamed live. And so I think the next game is tomorrow, but they have a road game. But I can tell you the home games are streamed. The next home game is this upcoming Saturday. But definitely you can stream those games and support our student athletes. So shout out to the cheerleaders as well. So again, men's and women's basketball, men's and women's track and field, as well as the cheer squad. Dr. Jackson.
Thank you, Dean Busby. And in addition to that phenomenal play and the precautions taken during practice and game time, just to reiterate what we shared earlier, our athletes are undergoing a very strict testing protocol. And so they've been troopers and committed to the safety of not only of themselves, but also our campus community. So thank you to our Department of Athletics staff, as well as students, for being leaders in this regard. So our next webinar is scheduled for next Monday at 12:30. We hope that you will be able to join us. As always, if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to luelt@langston.edu. So we hope you have a wonderful Monday, and until next week, take care, Lions.